Yes, that's right.
And that's what we derive our rights from is God Almighty. And if you're going to call yourself sovereign, then you'd have to say that rights were derived by you.
So Quasi put up a video the other day. Yes, I can hear you, sir. Talking about the UCCC, the Uniform Consumer
Yes.
Credit Code. Is that right, Quasi? Is that what
Yes.
it called?
Yes, it
I'm
is. The
thankful
Uniform
he brought
Commercial
that
Credit
up
Code.
because it's really eye opening. And we got to
Yeah.
discuss
It's
in
been wildfire.
yeah, we got to discuss in the 1957 report on jurisdiction, and I told him he needed to get those, and that's why your name got brought up because when it comes to that, you're the expert.
Well, and what happens is when you realize what I read and what I've learned in my studies, you realize that after the 57 report, after 1940, everything changed. All law changes. And the reason why is because the overlay is based on jurisdiction, the XYZ at T, the exact coordinates at that particular time. And so it really changes everything, and you start to realize that the federal government and the states are actually warring.
Yep, the
And
states
they're
are still
warring.
at war with the
Yeah,
United
yeah, yeah.
States.
They're warring, but the reality is that they're warring over the chattel um, that the state gets and that the feds get. They're dividing up the goods, and that's what makes it so pathetic.
Well, when you understand, there's a great video online. I showed you that Bankruptcy and Revised Article 9, Part 1. Remember that? Remember that section where the guy talked about um, the commercial torts? And he said that it gives them the ability to take the property away from the trustees, and they all giggle.
I know exactly what you're talking about, where they were talking about like who can beat the trustees in bankruptcy proceedings.
Well, yes, that video was put out by the Federal Judicial Center.
Yep, I know
And,
exactly what
and
you're talking about.
well, the trustees are listed on the Social Security website. They're not appointing you as trustee. They're appointing you under trustee de Santort because why? You're using the trustee's property and you're not using it right. So they need you to come into that case as the dummy to play the part so they can take away the property. By the way, check this out. Let's see here. Where is it at? I just had a conversation today over, well, let's do it this way. Rule 1.15. I want y'all to check this out. And if this don't tell you that court-appointed attorneys and attorneys know this, this is out of New York. Go to page 2. It's hyperlinked document. Click on Rule 1.15. It'll take you directly to the page. It is the next 4.5 pages. It is preserving identity of funds and property of others, fiduciary responsibility, commingling, misappropriation of client funds or property, maintenance of bank accounts, record keeping, examination of records. That is all of Rule 1.15. That's out of New York. You're going to find this rule in every single state. Because why? When you get a court appointed attorney, they're not representing you. They're representing the trust estate. Now take it right back to that, what we just talked in that video, so they can take the property of the trustees.
Now, Pastor,
Yes.
As far as taking the property of the trustees and cite your authority, your expertise, or at least one of your expertise, is based on jurisdiction. Now, I was actually just watching. Let me actually put the video inside of the chat. Where is it? Right here.
Informants called the police with information about a criminal offense, saying, "I heard."
So pretty much the basis or the question would be is, as far as the video is concerned, it explains that jurisdiction is pretty much a court's authority to hear a particular case. Now, as far as the case goes, and as far as we talk about jurisdiction with regards to any of the things that are going on, because everything at the end of the day results back into court, right? So when we're explaining jurisdiction, are we referring to jurisdiction as far as court goes, or are we referring to jurisdiction as far as like contract law and trust law, estate law, within the means of like who's issuing what within certain parameters of an estate or in a trust?
Well, before cite your authority, before you jump onto that, because what you just asked was a really broad question.
Yes, very
Now,
broad.
jurisdiction applies to who you're contracting with. Does if me and you, Quasi, are contracting, that's our jurisdiction. Does cite your authority have any ability to trespass on that?
No, but for example, if we have a conflict as far as our agreement goes, then jurisdiction would apply to specifically court purposes, not necessarily
Yes.
just our jurisdiction between what me and you have going on. Like we have a private jurisdiction as far as our agreement goes. Union jurisdiction, I guess, would be a court.
That would be more like a common law case. In other words, two people have a private contract. Now there's a dispute. This is what the court's for. But I think your question would be better asked, since all roads lead to Rome, and Rome is the court, is when you are the when you got the government coming after you.
Yes.
Not another man or woman, and you're being
because
drug into a court.
Because the government, technically, we can call them a person or a group of people to a degree.
That's right.
Okay.
So now, cite your authority. You can go from there on jurisdiction. Well, I know he's there. I just know he's got issues. There he is.
So Brother Brian.
Yes.
So, this question actually gets you into the conversation of severability.
Okay.
And in contract, you're going to have to declare a severability to protect the contract. Severability meaning that if one part of the contract is not enforceable, be it by statute, by whatever reason, that particular part is done away with, and the rest of it still stands. The next is to always do a chain of command of how, if you do have a dispute, what the dispute resolution is. And under UCC 1-308, you can reserve your rights, but under UCC 1-103, you'll realize that those are your tools for remedy for relief. And so in a contract, you can plainly and explicitly spell out the adjudication processes that are agreed to by both or all the parties. And so it's really important to comprehend that you state the jurisdiction in your contract.
Okay.
So it's not, you'll never run away from jurisdiction. You have to address it.
Now, yes, I agree with you in the example. If we were filing a petition or a claim or a complaint, then yes, you would cite your jurisdiction. But what Quasi, I think, was asking specifically, if the government, be it a family, be it CPS, be it a traffic ticket, a criminal case, where there is no injured party,
Yeah,
that's
because
where
we're
the
talking. Yeah, exactly. Because if we're talking about severability, within regards to a contract to make a certain portion null and void, what extent does that go to as far as, for example, if one portion of the contract does not stick, the rest of the contract sticks, how far does that extend to making an entire contract null and void? Or is there a, how do I say this? Is there like a caveat severability, like within that scope, like a, you know what I'm saying?
No, narrow that down just a little bit.
So, like, for example, if within statute, let's say the requirement of a certain medium of exchange was outside of the scope of law, therefore making the contract security interest unenforceable, and that's the basis for the entire contract. Therefore, the entire contract would be null and void based off of inconsistency with either federal statute or state law or constitutional provisions.
Okay, so what's the exact question?
Come in?
What's your question, or was that just comment?
Oh, so what would be like the scope of severability and result to making something completely like null and void, instead of it just being like one portion of the contract and the rest of the contract sticks?
Well, there's still, so here's the crazy part. You know, if there is no apples, they're going to be looking for oranges and pickles. So if it can't satisfy, it doesn't stop that there's a liability, or that it doesn't stop that there is a need for a transfer. Does that make sense?
To a degree, can you explain transfer a little more?
Everything's a transfer after it's been issued.
Okay.
So all the birth of an instrument is called issuance.
Mm-hmm.
And then from that point on, it's transferred, accepted for transfer.
Or an assignment, would you consider that?
Now, assignment is a method of transfer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Now, assignment is what I bring out in the hospital contract, that the majority, not all, but majority of the people sign with the hospital, giving assignment over the infant to the hospital.
I remember you talking to me about the hospital abstract.
Yeah. But no, jurisdiction, what we were getting at is how territorial jurisdiction plays in. Because that relates a lot to subject matter jurisdiction.
True.
Absolutely, they're linked. There's an instrument that really hammers that out, Brian. You know which one I'm talking about?
Yeah, I actually sent him the picture of the books, if I'm not mistaken. And I told him, I even sent him the links from Amazon and said, you've got to get these 2-volume sets.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. I need to update my library anyway. I have a lot of encyclopedias. I need more.
It is absolutely difficult. You can find Volume 1, the 1956 version, but the 1957, I have not been able to find a free PDF online anywhere.
Okay, so yeah, this is. Oh, sorry about that. Live mic, brother.
Now, me, I'm of the opinion you really shouldn't argue jurisdiction, because they own the name, they own the estate, they created it, it's their property, and they have jurisdiction over their property.
Well, and another cool thing is that jurisdiction is your ace in the hole card, because it can be collaterally attacked. It can be a collateral attack. You can use it at any time during the function of law. So if it's something you don't want to just play right off, it's the joker in your hand. another thing to comprehend about jurisdiction is that you have to yield to their jurisdiction if you're looking for equity. So if they've already said they've got jurisdiction, that's really awesome for you, because when your claim of equity comes in, they can't deny it that they have jurisdiction.
Well, then that would have to be a counterclaim, correct?
Well, they force you into a counterclaim motion so that you're equal.
And if you don't file that, then you're obviously submitting to an authority to that degree or diminishing capacity.
You have to counterclaim.
You have. It's a necessity.
Yes, it's a legal necessity.
Because otherwise, it's like, because court is adversarial. So if there's no counterclaim, then it's like you're admitting defeat.
Well,
yeah, exactly.
Do you know Jurisdictionary, the guy that made Jurisdictionary?
No.
He has a class that he put together. Now, he's an attorney. He practiced law for about 10 years, and he got so fed up with the system that he started his own private school under a trust. And he's got a class called How to Win in Court. It is a great class, because all he's doing is teaching you the procedures that he learned in law school. And at the very beginning, that is what he discusses: claim, counterclaims, and cross-claims. And the counterclaim is one of those things that, honestly, I think the judges are scared of them, because they will yell at you, scream at you, everything, and tell you, you can't do a counterclaim. Yeah, you can.
Tell them, watch me.
You can sue the instrument itself in a counterclaim. You can sue an inanimate object, because the United States did it when they did U.S. versus Learjet.
Well, don't you think any suit
If they can do it,
against an organization is a suit against a piece of paper or an inanimate object? Any civil suit is an inanimate.
ultimately, that's exactly what it is. When they pull you over and give you a ticket, what do they ask for?
3 forms of identification.
License and registration.
Yeah, that's
And
for
insurance.
purposes.
See, guys,
Well,
what
it's
we're
not just
talking
for
about,
purposes.
what we're talking about is Thing, THING, REM. This is why you're able to do a claim on a piece of chattel paper, because it's a thing. That's why you have to protect the title, because it's a thing.
We have a lot of echo in here, just so you guys know.
Yeah, close down mics if you're not speaking. I yield.
Yeah, I think Quasi's got it up on his computer, and his volume's just a touch too loud, so his microphone's picking it up.
Yeah, that's me. My bad. I'm muting.
It's all right. Now, in Black's Law Dictionary, a thing is actually a very interesting term. A thing is a right.
Which Black's Law are you looking at?
Now, why this is so key, guys, is because people don't trespass on you. They trespass on your rights. People don't attack you. They attack your rights. People didn't disturb you. They disturbed your rights. Rights as a whole is everyone's. And the law is written to protect all, and equity is written to protect one. So the all is always going to be the law, and there are always going to be rights that were guaranteed. You know, you're not guaranteed. Rights are guaranteed. It's always about the right that's guaranteed, the instrument, the thing that's guaranteed. And this is why it's important to watch that Sovereign video that someone posted in Floyd's, because it's really it's easy to comprehend where this judge is trying to teach this young man what he needs to know, and he's so full of himself and so arrogant that the video they posted is about the judge bowing, not about the judge being so kind to him, letting him know the answer he was seeking. So Go take a look at that. Brian, if you want to post it. I don't think I posted it in your chat. I just gave it to you privately. I yield.
I'm going to. That video, some of y'all have seen it. Now, a bunch of y'all know me and have heard me. I've been talking about this forever. Okay. That name is their property. What is your relation to it? It's the agent, right? This judge looks at him and says, he says, you know, they're looking for Keith someone, I don't know his last name, and he says, nope, I'm just Keith. I'm the administrator of that estate. I don't necessarily disagree with him when he says that, okay? But he says, well, I'm going to issue a warrant for his arrest. And he says, wait a minute, Your Honor, blah, 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 blah. And he has the bailiffs. He says, bailiffs, remove this guy from the court. And the guy stands his ground and said, are you going to touch an officer of the court? So he claims he's an officer of the court there representing the estate. And the judge looks at him and said, you are either him or you are his agent. And he says it to him twice, if I'm not mistaken. And hardly nobody pays attention to that. Now, do we have another video out there in this world that says the same thing? Oh, yeah. Ken W., birth certificate and the law of agency. He reads the Kentucky ruling when he went to probate. He asked them 3 questions. The first question they dismissed for lack of jurisdiction because they didn't have jurisdiction over Ohio's property. The estate was created in Ohio, the birth certificate. Okay, but they say to the next 2 questions they did have jurisdiction, and they said his other 2 questions is what is it, and what is my relation to it, and the judge plainly says in the court ruling, it is a state agency, and you are the agent.
Does the authorized representative still fall under agent?
Well, I see it as it can, because why? What type of agent are you? You're the general agent. The general agent has the authority to do all the business of the trust, aka create collateral securities. Those collateral securities are mortgage notes, credit card notes, applications, card notes or purchase agreements. Those are all securities. Why are they securities?
Signature.
Because anything with a maturity date of more than 9 months is what? A security. Now, I don't know. Now that might be wrong on a credit card. A credit card might be a month-to-month promissory note. Don't really know. Now, would you know the answer to that, Quasi?
Yeah, they're called, they are securities. They're a type of month-to-month security. You're absolutely right on that. Well, they're not called promissory notes. They're called securities to some extent.
Okay.
If I could find the banking dictionary to give you an exact definition, you're going to give me like 2-3 minutes. I will.
Mm-hmm.
But
well, under the UCC, anything with a maturity date less than 9 months is a promissory note. Greater than 9 months is a security. That's why I said that.
Greater than 9 months is a security. Well, it depends on how banks file their paperwork. So some banks may declare things promissory notes just for the purposes of whatever circular things that they got going on. Others may have the obligation of putting those things under securities because they may have international obligations they need to fulfill.
Was you going to say something, cite your authority?
Yes, so this is important to comprehend that it's back to the law of agency where, you could be an authorized representative But you also have to say acting agent. So, like you said, there could be many representatives, but who's the active agent? And
Well, on a
in Texas, in certain states, the acting agent has to be known and published in the record, so people can sue you and contact you.
then the only time the agent can be sued is if the agent is not doing their fiduciary duty. That's where the agent holds the liability, and this is where the system is set up to be against you.
Wazzy, you're live, brother. Mute it. Come on, Brother Brian.
Yes.
We're stuck in an echo chamber. I just had him mute, so you can keep speaking, Brother Brian.
Oh, I was fine. That's why I said what I said. He's got to. He's got to get used to muting when he's not talking.
Yeah, there's a way that you can actively hold down a key to talk and then let up, and it automatically mutes you. But then,
if
the
it is
reason
on
why
the
this is
computer that way, then you might have to tell him where that's at.
Yeah, I don't know, but I know it is for Zoom, so I'm assuming Telegram might have the same. So, but this is an important thing to comprehend what this judge did to this young man. He was really kind to this young man and let him know the words to speak, and he didn't speak them because he was just too full of himself, because he was so angered that the judge left. The judge called recess. He didn't leave, and the bow was just more either a bow to the recess of the court, him saluting or whatever. But the whole thing was about the judge using the word agent. And these judges are trying to help us. And, imagine if all these children that are lost at sea or whatever, imagine if half of them were actually mutants and were Nephilim and actually could not bring equity because they're animals and they don't comprehend equity. And this is why I think we're in the system that we're in, is because you have to actively express it, because you have to prove yourself that you are, that you're worthy, that you're not an animal. If you're familiar with the book or the movie series Dune, they call it the Gum Jabbar, and it's a poison that only kills animals. And he puts his hand into a box. It's a pain box, but pain is not real. Pain isn't real, and so this witch induces pain onto his hand, and he fights himself from moving his hand out of the box, or he would be killed. And that's the proof. It's a proving of that you're not an animal, that you have control over yourself. And this is what leads you into the word discretionary interest. And discretionary interest is very important when it comes to a trustee and a beneficiary.
Or a reversionary.
Absolutely. Yep. All interest. Yep.
Now, have you seen a video of Alfred Adask and Man or Other Animals?
No.
You should watch it.
Yeah.
This is under the Obama administration. Friends of his, a husband and wife, had started a company making colloidal silver. And the Obama administration could not go after them. Why? It's outside jurisdictions. So they attacked the state of Texas to stop them. Because they're going to make you healthy. So the state of Texas sues this couple for $9,000 a day. Do the math. It's $25 million a year. So they contact Alfred Adask and said, will you be fiduciary while we're handling this legal matter? He said, sure. Well, anybody that understands trust law knows what they just asked him to do was take over as trustee. So guess what Texas does? Adds him to the lawsuit. He asked the DA what is the linchpin of their argument, and it was one specific Texas drug code. And in that code, it used the phrase man and other animals. And he said, wait a minute, I understand grammar. They're saying I'm an animal. Well, that's a violation of my First Amendment. So he files a First Amendment claim. He defines who he is. Well, what has the Supreme Court said? You have the right to declare who you are. So he declares who he is. He defined who he was. They dismissed his case 6 months later. See, everything starts with the name. And what is your relationship to it?
So I have a question for you. If
Yeah.
I claimed who I am in an affidavit, the judge dismisses it without the weight of the affidavit to another officer in court representing somehow the state, still pleads me guilty. How does that happen if I've already made my standing in court by challenging its jurisdiction as well?
When you did your affidavit, was it just that piece of paper that you sent in?
It wasn't just that piece of paper, no.
Okay, because here's why. A lot of people think if I write some claims on a sheet of paper, call it an affidavit with no supporting evidence, that it's an affidavit. Nope, it's just mere allegations.
No, this was a affidavit that was notarized from my standing and the challenging of jurisdiction.
Yes, but when you had each claim that you made, did you have Exhibit A? Did you have supporting evidence?
Of which facts? Because yes, I had Exhibit A, B, and C.
And they found you guilty, and they didn't. Did they even address it? If they did not, it's an appealable issue.
Right, but apparently I guess you have only 30 days to appeal it for a culpable claim.
Yeah, but part of what you were doing based on our conversation earlier was still wrong. Because why? The name on the social isn't you. If you went in there claiming blah, 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 but using that name, you're already in the wrong. Because why? A guy that I talked to one time, he goes by John here on TikTok. He goes to court. He's set up his trust, his LLCs, his DBAs. He's got everything airtight. He goes into court, shows the judge his documents. They ask him what his name is. He said, John. Judge said, just John? Yeah, nothing more, nothing less. That's the name my mother gave me, John. The judge looked at the DA and said, don't you ever bring somebody in here without a last name again. The DA says, how do I get his last name? Judge said, I don't know. That's between you and him.
Right, and that's just like that one video where that guy walks into court and says, I'm just so-and-so, and then the other portion is my family name.
Yeah, but you don't even bring up the family name.
So then my fault was addressing the jurisdiction with my name on top of the state of versus the person as being the agent. And then in my affidavit to claim my standing, I said, I am a man, living soul, et cetera, within my claim. I put down the officers and about the truth and fact addition to the affidavit.
So I'd like to comment about this because this is a real problem just in the principle of what you're talking about. And the principle, what you're not getting is that there are two separate things. You have claimed, you keep on responding to this all cap name. You did it since you were 14 years old or whenever it happened to you. And the reality is they have jurisdiction over that all cap name. It's theirs. They have jurisdiction over the all cap name. If you're going to declare jurisdiction or challenge a jurisdiction, it's got to be very explicit in nature. What kind of jurisdiction are we talking about? Because this has to do with jurisdiction over an all cap entity, a thing that they created, that they authored. Now
Okay,
you have
but
you have interest in it, no doubt.
right, but here's the getter, right? Is that when I did my thing and I did not plead in court, but the judge pleaded for me for the citation, and then against my wishes on record, pleaded me not guilty, and then sent me a swindle by mail for the bench trial with my lowercase name, uppercase first, uppercase middle, and last name. Not my all caps letter.
Because why? You were still trespassing on their property. The way you challenge jurisdiction, they already had jurisdiction. You were challenging jurisdiction like they didn't. They already did. Why did they have jurisdiction? That trust is theirs. Okay? What you were not doing was properly settling the debt. What I did in my traffic ticket was this. Okay, February 21st of this year, I get pulled over, get a DOT inspection. My reverse light is out on my truck. So, I get a ticket. The court date was March 28th. March 16th, I call the clerk. I never used their language. I didn't call it a ticket. If I call it a ticket, I'm agreeing to the contract.
You call it the
it's
instrument, right? It's an instrument, right?
I called the clerk and I said, I need to speak to the court clerk. And she said, well, there's three of us here. And I said, well, I need to speak to the one that manages the courthouse to make sure everything runs smoothly. She said, that'll be me. I said, okay, ma'am, I need to verify your EIN number for tax reporting purposes. And why did I say that? I'm trying to settle the debt. And I said, because I have in my possession a debt instrument. And she says, well, yeah, you got to do those kind of things. And I read the EIN number, and she says, well, I can't verify if that's what it is. You might need to talk to Barbara down at the town hall. I said, okay, ma'am, I'll get her number in a moment. And then I said, my next question is, what is the penal sum for this instrument? And she says, well, I don't know what that is or how to get it. And I'm pretty sure Quasi can tell you this. They're lying when they say that. The courts always have a penal statutory sum to every instrument. Okay, so she says, I don't know what that is or how to get it. So I give her the instrument number. She says, are you giving me a ticket number? I said, ma'am, if you believe that's what it is, that's on you. The way I see it, this is an instrument of value or a debt instrument, which means under Title 18 USC 8, it's an obligation of the United States. And then she said, are you the name on the ticket? And I said, ma'am, that name is owned by the United States. They're the secured party in this matter. And I meant to say in the phone call, I slipped. I said beneficiary. But what I meant to say was registered agent, because what I said after that was the duty of the agent. I said, it is my duty to notify the principal of anything that affects its interest. And she says, can you hold a moment? I said, yes, ma'am. And she comes back about 2 minutes later and says, well, that matter's been sealed and dismissed. I said, ma'am, can you send that signed order to the address you have on file? The address is for who? The registered agent. What's my duty? To notify the principal. So I'm wanting her to send it to me. She says, well, I can't send that to just anybody. You're going to have to verify who you are. I said, okay, ma'am, you'll have a letter in the mail next week. Now, remember, the 28th of March was a Monday. She got my letter on the 24th, and her butt must have puckered because she printed the order out that day. And she was either back at the post office that Thursday, or she was at the post office the next Friday morning, and she paid express mail because it was at my house the day of the so-called court date, the 28th. Sealed and dismissed. I've got a redacted copy of that ticket on my TikTok channel. It's on Fearless Floyd's channel. Anybody can see it. And that is what I did. Because why? As the agent, what is your duty? To keep records and report.
Okay, then I need to discuss with you off channel and figure out what to do with the rest of it.
And don't hesitate to pull the Lord's Prayer into court. Trust me, a guy, Cite Your Authority dropped off, but he knows the guy that did it. My buddy Mark in Minnesota knows the guy Mark's the reason the guy did it. He had 8 traffic citations. He was looking at habitual misdemeanors, okay, which means he was going to get like 3 years. Now, what's the word plea? A plea is a prayer. He says, how do you plead? The guy drops to his knees, does the Lord's Prayer. The judge says, we're not going to put up with these shenanigans. Again, I'm going to ask you, how do you plead? He drops to his knees a second time, does the Lord's Prayer. But this time the judge is yelling and screaming. If you do that one more time, I'm going to find you in contempt of court. How do you plead? He drops to his knees, does the Lord's Prayer. The judge dismisses all 8 charges.
So can you do that with debt as far as saying, I repent?
No, it's not I repent. It is, I am forgiving those that trespass against me as I ask you to forgive me of my trespasses. What is a debt? It's a trespass. A debt is a sin. What are you asking forgiveness for? Your sins. That's equity.
Well, right. Civil is equity.
No, anything is equity. The Bible is full of equity. There was a guy one time that got a freaking charge, criminal charge. I think it was a drug charge. Every time the DA tried to speak, the guy spoke back scripture. The entire case, never cited a single court case, never cited a single code. All he did was quote scripture. Guess what happened? They dismissed the case. The Bible is equity. And what does nobody want to read? Nobody want to study the principles of law. They throw the baby out with the bathwater because, oh, it's a religious book.
Right.
Quasi, you got any thoughts on this?
You're not lying. You're not lying.
Quasi's smart, y'all. I give Quasi credit where credit's due. Hey, I follow him on TikTok. Quasi's brilliant.
Yeah, I try. It's just a lot of for example, a lot of missing pieces. It's a really big puzzle to try to fill out, especially where there's how do I say this? I wouldn't say conflicting information, but as far as like procedural wise, getting things in order for a standpoint on something that a lot of people can grasp and stand on consistently.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's why I direct people to read their writings. They tell you everything.
You can say that again. You need to read it very carefully because punctuation is key when they separate ideas. as well. People look at things as one jumbled sentence and they said a whole lot, you know. Like, what's his name?
By the way, I want to show you something.
What's up?
Dropping it in the chat.
Oh, by the way, those two links that I posted, criminal pretrial proceedings and how criminal trials move, if anybody wanted to watch those, it pretty much tells you exactly what's going on as far as what's happening when you're going into court. It explains the difference between appointed judges and magistrate judges. It pretty much gives you an entire rundown on what's happening whenever you go in. So if you wanted, it's like that, what was it, that UCC Article 9 video that you were talking about? Yeah. It's exactly like, I think it's from the exact same channel, if I'm not mistaken.
It is.
A whole bunch of videos. Yeah. They have a whole.
They have a playlist.
Yes.
Two playlists with the Federal Judicial Center.
Yeah, exactly. They have an entire playlist, guys. If you wanted to know how court operates and like what these people are doing and like what the difference is in certain things, and like they'll explain certain acts to you, like what they mean to the judges. They'll give you judges' codes of ethics, like what the judges are supposed to do, what they can't do. Like there's a plethora of information on there, so please check it all out.
Hey, give an example of that video, Bankruptcy and Revised Article 9, Part 1. These are law professors and judges. At the 43-minute mark of that video, Ms. LaRouche is talking about the registered organization, and the guy 2 spots to her right pops off and says, and some say the state issues a birth certificate.
Yeah, just like when I was showing you in the American jurisprudence with infants, it states that for equitable purposes, the state creates a legal personality that will be beneficial to the infant after its conception. So that equitable interest would be the birth certificate itself, you know, because there is no paperwork for the baby other than a birth certificate. And a lot of people don't know this. You can pre-register a baby before it's born.
Yeah. Not only that, an equitable benefit. Think about it. The number one equitable benefit that they're doing is to create currency to fund this system where everybody's asking for all of this stuff.
Yes. You know, it's funny because when I was looking up some of this information, just the aspect that the states are federal agencies. Like, can you agree on that, Pastor?
I've wanted some source information because I've heard it. I've never seen it, but I've heard that if they receive federal funds, that makes them a federal agent.
Well, not even just that. For example, you ever gone to Dun & Bradstreet before?
Oh, yeah. I know all about that.
Yeah, all right. So the Dun & Bradstreet, how do I say this? The Dun & Bradstreet lists corporations on there that have business file, or it's pretty much the business aspect of the credit report.
Yes.
All 50 states are on there, right? Now, all 50 states are on there. You can request their DUNS number. The states they don't have any articles of incorporations with the Secretary of State's offices, which would be needed to do business in the state. So if they're on Dun & Bradstreet, that means that they are a registered business, but they're not registered with the state. That would mean that they're a federal corporation because they have a tax ID number. Anything that has a tax ID number is all federal.
Okay, that makes sense.
So it's not necessarily an assumption. It's the fact that they are registered on Dun & Bradstreet, and for them to be registered on Dun & Bradstreet, they have to have a tax ID. And if they don't have an articles of incorporation with the Secretary of State, then they're a federal corporation.
Okay, that makes sense.
And we're aware that federal corporations don't have to have an articles of incorporation to operate necessarily, only to operate within a state.
Yeah, they need the EIN.
Exactly.
Now, technically, under the Buck Act, they created an overlay which created these federal territories.
Yes.
It'll be the state of North Carolina, state of Texas. That has the EIN number.
And like a W-9 then.
Yes. You know, they won't always give you the W-9, but I've learned how to get it. I've learned how to get it.
Well, you know, if they won't give you the tax identification number, then you can report that to the IRS for tax fraud purposes.
Yes, but most states have a main office called the Administrative Office of the Courts or something. You can call them and you go through their prompts, find the financial side of it. They might have it there. But the lady I talked to in my state at that office, she told me this. She said, because she didn't have some of them for some of the courts. She said, go to your local billing and accounting office in the county, because they'll have it. And just call them up. If they ask you that why you need it, well, I'm looking at issuing a bond and I need to make sure I properly report it. Oh, okay. I did that via email with one court. And the lady said, oh, okay, hold on, I'll go get it.
Beautiful, beautiful. And you know what? Tactics like that is kind of how you get certain things like rolling. Like, you kind of have to tell them a feasible answer, like what they want to hear, so that you get what you want from them.
Yes.
You know? And you got to kind of think on your feet sometimes on the fly, like, why do I need this? I'm issuing bonds, or like getting registered mail labels, you know what I mean, to record certain instruments of the postal system, or actually the post office, I should say.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Or getting a medallion signature from one of the the Federal Reserve member banks.
Do you know you can create an account with them?
Yeah, a master account. But
not necessarily a master account.
I know exactly what you mean. I'm trying to refer to that terminology that they have on their website. I can't remember.
Yeah, you got to go create a private bank account first. And you go to your bank manager with your bank resolution, et cetera, et cetera. Well, they will bring you to the back office or the private side of the bank to set up your private account. And then you go to the Federal Reserve, fill out their forms, and get a connection to the Federal Reserve. And you can do this as an individual to start issuing your own bill of exchange. And I've got the link to the Treasury's website where they actually will let you download the banking manuals you need to learn to do it.
Oh, wow. See, it's funny that you say that, because I was actually just going over the monetary aspect, because with an individual, because a lot of people are confused on the aspect of Federal Reserve notes, or like gold and silver is supposed to be the currency that we're supposed to be using. And
oh God, yes.
You can tell me if you agree with this statement. Pretty much, federally, what happened is that the states can't issue their own money. So what the Federal Union did is allow the states to use Federal Reserve notes, not just gold and silver. Does that make sense?
Yes, but it's deeper than that.
Yes, a lot deeper than that. But like, as a general consensus, it's like, well, they can't issue that. Like, for example, we can't issue our own currencies, but we can issue bills of credit and bills of exchange. Like, we can issue debt instruments, pretty much.
I actually take it one step further.
Oh, okay. Let's go.
Anything of value is legal tender.
I would say anything that's a medium of exchange. Now, that is anything of value, to be specific. Anything that can be exchanged that has value.
Well, my buddy settled a ticket with grains of rice.
Rice has value. I mean, it can be bought and sold. It's a commodity.
That's right. But, you know, Chris, I want you to pay attention to this. Here is going to be your proof that those people teaching they stole our gold and they took us off the gold standard are flat wrong. This is out of the Congressional Record, March 9th, 1933. This is on page 2, and the document, the full document is in my files. Now, if you take that picture,
how do I find your files?
I'll explain that in a minute. I'll walk you through it. I'll do a screen share. Okay. Now, it says on that picture, under the Federal Reserve Act, obligations that are deposited as the security in gold. Wait a minute. So they didn't get rid of gold. They just redefined what gold was. What's the new gold? Obligations. Okay. Question you have to ask right this moment, whose obligation? I'll answer that in a second. So, as the security in gold for reserve notes are placed in the hands of the Federal Reserve agent. That is Title 12 USC 411. Anybody that's familiar with 411 will recognize those words. 411's a little bit bigger, but that is 12 USC 411. Okay, now, here is on page 5 of the Congressional Record. Now, right above that, right there at that highlight, it says, under the new law, the money, pay attention, every word matters. The money, singular, is issued to the banks in return for government obligations, bills of exchange, drafts, notes, trade acceptances, and bankers' acceptances. The money will be worth 100 cents on the dollar, singular. Now, remember the obligations? There's the obligations. That's 12 USC 412. Now, if you go read 12 USC
Hold on,
412,
can you repeat that so I can write it down?
You got the pictures in the group.
Not there. Okay, I got you.
Yeah. So that one, that section is 12 USC 412. Now, when you read 412, you find this term called collateral security. Okay. So now, as the registered agent, you go get a mortgage. You are issuing a private collateral security as a private investor. Do you know the one thing the government has never defined? Denominations. Because if they ever passed a law that says the max value of denominations was $100 and you're trying to go buy a mortgage for $314,000, how many $100 promissory notes are you going to have to sign?
Wait, hold on. Say that again. You said there was no definition for what?
They have never in law defined denominations.
Denomination. Let me see. Let me see if I got something.
What
no,
is,
we
what
know
is this
there's
book?
a legal definition for denomination. I get that, Quasi. They've never passed a law that says these are the denominations and that's it. See what I'm saying, Quasi?
Got you. Okay. Like
Because
for
a private promissory note can be in whatever denomination you choose.
okay, like when the U.S. Treasury issues notes, or notes, it's in ones, twos, fives, tens, 50s, hundreds.
Yeah, did they ever pass a law that says this is it? This is all there is? No.
No.
The book that
'Cause
you
if they-
posted, which one is this one?
The two pictures I posted, that's in the Congressional Record of March 9th, 1933. Now,
And the one below it with the orange.
Oh, I
Oh, cool.
posted that one. That's the one.
Yeah.
To run it over real quick, it says under the United States Constitution, the several states are prohibited from coining money, from emitting bills of credit, and from making anything but gold and silver coin and tender in payment of debts. The states cannot declare what shall be money or regulate its value, since whatever power there is over the currency is vested in Congress. Furthermore, under the Supremacy Clause of the Federal Constitution, each state is required to honor the exclusive powers of Congress regarding money. And then within the footnotes, it says, since a state is prohibited...
Right, I just wanted to know the name of the book.
The book is called American Jurisprudence, Volume 53A.
53A.
Yep.
Now I've got American Jurisprudence, but it's not divvied up by volumes. It's divvied up by subject.
Got you. But
now hold on a
pay
second.
attention to that first part, guys, because it explains what you can and can't do. If you are private banking, you're private banking under state levels. So if you're private banking under state levels, it lets you know that you can't do these specific things. You can't do bills of credit. You can't make anything but gold and silver coin, tender in payments of debts. You can accept things that are exchangeable in Federal Reserve notes.
That's true. But not until you get your account set up with the Federal Reserve.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you have to be a member. You have to, on the state level, you have to be federally recognized to do those things, because the state by themselves cannot. Like, if we didn't have the Federal Reserve System, then we couldn't issue, like, for example, the state of California couldn't issue its own currency.
Yeah.
That's why we had to use gold and silver.
Now, let me come back to this. I'm going to share my screen. Now, Chris, if you're paying attention, if you look at the name of the group, tap on the name of the group. Okay? Okay. Now, you see where it says files. Tap on the word files.
Yep.
Now, up on the top right, you see the search symbol. Tap on that. And then
hold on a second. Sorry, I just got home and trying to keep.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine.
Serve things.
So if you're doing it on your computer, it's a different process. I don't know it on there. I just tell it on the phone. You'll find the similar stuff. You just got to play around with it on the computer.
Yeah, I'm on my phone right now.
So tap on the top banner of the group, where it right on the name.
Trying to get back to the group.
Okay. Well, I guess it's not in here, so
No.
I'll drop it's. But if I tell you something's in the files, it should be. So when you go into the files, you tap on the word files. There's a search bar on the right, and then you just type in a word like March. Okay. I thought the congressional record was in here. I guess I was wrong because I've shared it everywhere. So what I'll do is I'll go grab it.
I apologize, guys. I'm on the screen where it shows everybody, but not on the main screen where it shows the pictures.
Okay. Here's the March 9th, 1933 congressional record. So now I got to upload it. So give me a second here. Because Quasi, I'm going to open up Westlaw. Okay. Now, it should be there. So, say hello to my little friend. This is my toy.
Okay, I got it.
Okay. This right here is one of the best things I've ever got my hands on. You there, Quasi?
Yep, I'm here.
1933 Banking Holiday Act.
So, American jurisprudence. Guess what? I've also got corpus juris secundum.
I got a few of those too. The American, the corpus juris secundum. I got the book that says that the attorney's first duty is to the courts, not to the clients. Yep.
Now, this is how it breaks it down here.
Oh, beautiful. See, that's exactly what the volumes are.
Yes. So, remember we were talking about agents? Well, check this out. Agency. We're going to go to chapter view. In general. Now, what have I been telling everybody about the name? It's not yours. What is your relationship to it, right?
I'm wondering if I'm in the right one. Is it Vasilikos?
Nomos chat.
Okay.
So if you're in the chat, then you're in the right one. And you should be able to see
I
my
just had a hard time getting the screen.
Well, go back to our private chat and click on the link if you're not in the group. It'll bring you right back to the group.
Yo, Pastor, I have a question for you.
What?
So we're talking about agency, registered agent. Since talk about the birth certificate is an organization created by the state. We already spoke about the state being a federal organization. Wouldn't the registered agent for the state technically be the Secretary of State?
Exactly. But guess what? That's the default position if you resign. Now, why would you want to resign and give up all those great things, though?
No, see, but how do I say this? How do I say this? It's like being registered agent, but you're not in your office because your office is where the organization was incorporated. You feel what
No,
I'm saying?
no, the registered agent is where the address is where you are doing business.
You wouldn't think that's where the organization would. Well, how do I say this? Wouldn't you consider your mailing address is where? Okay, yeah, you're right. I agree. You're right.
Mhm. Boris had a conversation with the head legal advisor for Vital Records, and he admitted to everything. But he told Boris one problem. He said, "You've never went to the tax office and had the property value assessed where it's doing business." So what happens if you were born in New Jersey and you're living in California, doing business in California?
Well, shouldn't you have had it assessed in New Jersey then?
Yeah, but what if you didn't?
Then
So that means now you got to do it in California.
yeah, true. Because technically speaking,
Now, watch this.
public record, right?
Correct.
There's an echo here. Not talking, Quasi. Please close your mic if you're talking.
Yeah, Quasi. Your volume is making it echo, which it's because your microphone's picking up your
I'm going to
speakers.
switch my laptop.
Okay.
I'm going to switch to my phone.
Okay. Just let me know when he's back.
I'm here and listening. I'm just taking out the dogs.
Oh, you're fine. I'm just waiting for Quasi to tell me he's ready because I'm going to show these in American jurisprudence and break it down because he'll get it.
Oh, you can show it. I'm just switching over devices.
Okay. Now, let's see. Classification of agents as express or implied. No, that's the wrong one. That I will come back to. Creation of the agency. Express or implied agency. So just look at paragraph 2. Don't worry about the first one, right? You can, but I don't. An express agency is an actual agency created as a result of the oral or written agreement of the parties. Did they ever come to you and sit down and have a powwow? No. No, they did not. They didn't say, hey, we need you to operate like this. Will you sign this agreement? No. So, an implied agency is also an actual agency, the existence of which as a fact is proved by deductions and inferences from the other facts and circumstances of the particular case, including the words and conduct of the parties. An agency may be implied from the words and conduct of the parties construed in the light of all the surrounding circumstances. So let's go over that deductions and inferences. Who owns the birth certificate? The government. Who owns the name and the number on the social? The government. Your personal check says what? Authorized representative. Who are you signing for? I had one guy tell me one time, well, you need that for your signature. Oh, so you need permission? No, you only need permission to be an authorized signer or an authorized representative for a principal. In other words, who's the principal? The government, the trustees. Now, what type of agency are you? This is where we get into this. Classification of agent as general, special, or universal. Let's go to the last paragraph, because we're going to rule that one out fast. A universal agent is authorized to transact all of the business of the principal of every kind and do all delegable acts for the principal. Universal agents can be created only by clear and unequivocal language. That means what? Contract. So that would be an express agent. You're not the universal agent. The CEO of Microsoft is the universal agent of Microsoft. Why? The CEO can do everything from all the way down to cleaning the toilets, all the way up to running the company. That's not you. Now, a general agent is authorized to do all acts connected with the business or employment in which he or she is engaged, while a special agent is authorized to do only one or more specific acts. So you are the general agent for that trust. The general agent has all the duties to go out and create these. That the government become the bull. Because why? The principals, called the trustees, they can't come door to door and say, hey, do you need a house? Do you need a car? Do you need groceries? So they had to create a system to where you could operate without liability if you just study. And they tell you everything. There's your trustees. Secretary of the Treasury is the first trustee, the managing trustee. Why? They're the bank. Second trustee, Secretary of Labor. Why? When you fill out a W-4 for employment and you put the name, you put the social, you put the address, and you check the box U.S. citizen, who's the employee? It ain't you. The trust is the employee because why? Under the 14th Amendment, all corporations, all businesses, and all trusts are legal persons having equal protection under the law. Third trustee, Secretary of Health and Human Services. We'll get into who is the beneficiary. The state. Because why? Who is getting the federal funds? The state is. You're not the grantor. You're not the trustees. You have no evidence you're the beneficiary. And can a statutory trust have an agent? Yes, it can. Quasi, you got anything that you want us that you add that you see? He dropped off. Does that make sense, Chris?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I'm listening.
Well, I figured you was.
Dogs out.
Oh, you're fine. I just want to make sure it makes sense to you, because the stuff I teach, I bounce it off. The Bible tells me to have a wise counsel. So the people that I actually do trust, I'll take it to them and run it by them and say, hey, did I miss anything? Does it make sense? Because I take this information very serious.
Well, and so do I. And that's why I learn. But there's so much disinformation.
And where is all the
And
disinformation coming from?
Well,
It's
I mean,
coming
it's
from
hard to
people.
tell, right?
Well, a lot of it comes from people that are reading other people's opinions instead of reading what the government actually says in application.
Right. So, I mean, the information I get from people, I like to get the information, research it, and that's kind of what landed me to the ICC and UCC and other United States federal codes for law, and our Declaration of Independence, Bill of Rights, and more.
Yeah, but you don't. Yeah, but you don't know how they apply because why? You've never actually studied the document.
Exactly, and that's key.
Yes, it is. You can see what I look up a lot. See, they publish a book. It is 2,882 pages. Do you have to read it all? No, you don't. Do you want to read certain sections? Yes, you do. The sections that may or may not apply to you. But they tell you everything.
My headset is currently dying right now, and it take me a little bit to get back home to get back on the speaker. Get back and get on the speaker.
Oh, I understand. Trust me. I had to switch headsets earlier. My headsets last for a day, and then I have to switch them. So right there's the link to that document. Anybody can read it. See, we talk about how the Constitution is supposed to be the law of the land and the most important thing, but we never read it. We never study it. I mean, I can go through. You've heard the term public and private, right? Well, let me blow your mind.
Yeah, I've heard it.
Check this out. The federal government understands public and private. Statutes at large, bills enacted into law, concurrent resolutions, private laws. Wait a minute, private laws? Presidential proclamation, public laws, reorganization plans. Remember I said they're a Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Under a Chapter 11, you're allowed to do what? Reorganization. Now check this out. Private law. It's a private law to pay Miss Thelma $5,000 from the Treasury. Now, why does it have to be a private law? because there was an injury done in an accident. And who control and where do all spending bills have to start? From the House. Remember what I said about Kirk? Kirk don't study this stuff. Because if he did, he would know there are private laws. They understand public and private. The government's not the enemy. The government is neutral. The system is neutral. Are there corruption? Is there corruption? Yes. The individual may be corrupt. The system as a whole is not. .99% of all the laws passed are constitutional. The problem is the people don't understand the application. Give you another example. You know how Republicans and conservatives are screaming, they're trying to take away our guns. I'll go study the federal gun laws. You know, guns that are pre-1890 are legal to have. It doesn't matter if you're a convicted felon or not. Because why? They're protected by the Second Amendment. You know why the liberals are screaming about ghost guns and why they're protected by the Second Amendment is because they're made in the privacy of your home. Well, in between those two times, what did we do? We allowed Smith & Wesson, Ruger, and all these corporations start making the guns, which did what? That put the guns into commerce. Oh, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 3. Now the government can regulate them. Well, whose fault is that? Is it the government's for doing what they have the right to do? Or is it ours because we waived our rights? It's ours. We want these nice things. We don't want to do the work to be free. We don't want to go out and grow gardens. We don't want to go dig ditches because it's hard work to be free. We like the electric company providing electricity so we can have all these nice things. We keep asking the corporations and the government to do all this stuff, and then we blame the government and say they're taking away our rights. No, we're not. No, they're not. We're waiving them. You have inalienable rights, God-given rights. They cannot take them God-given rights away. They can be waived. You can voluntarily surrender them. I mean, go look. I study the principles. The principles of law are few and never changing. The methods are many and are fluid. If you know the principles, you can develop your own methods. I'll give you an example of a principle that's in law. Thou shalt not murder. Okay, yeah, that's in the 10 Commandments. But it's also in the Constitution. Why? Because every man and woman has a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So when you killed that person, that man or woman, you violated their rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now,
exactly. It's love thy neighbor, do no harm.
That's right. Now, why is self-defense legal? Because that man that attacked you waived his right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. See the principle?
Yes, exactly. Yes, exactly.
See, when There's a principle in law of what one creates, he controls. Who created the 14th Amendment? Congress. It's under their control. Does it have to be a law? Does it have to be ratified? No, they can use it as a public policy for their people. And if you contract with them and say that you are that, you have that right to do it. Article 1, Section 10. But if the government claims you are a U.S. citizen, then they need to produce the evidence. And guess what? They can't. Where did you apply for that at? Well, I checked it. I checked a box on the document. Does that apply to you? No. It applies to the trust. Because why? You put the name of the trust on the document. You're signing everything on behalf of the trust.
Okay, so the key is to get them to recognize that we're the registered agent, enroll agent, and then things should be smooth.
No, it's not about getting them to recognize it. It's you being able to articulate it to where you know it. What did I do in that traffic ticket? I told her what the deal was. She didn't challenge me. She agreed to it, so she sealed the record. Now, what did I do? I followed the principle in the Bible. The principle is go to your adversaries quickly and settle the matter, or they'll drag you into court and you'll go to jail and pay every last farthing. Well, I was talking to Rob Ryder one day, talking about a traffic ticket, and he said, yeah, if you wait till the day of court to do anything, you're already late. See, we have to prove we are competent. Okay? Let's go back to here. Let's go here, files, search. Read that definition, somebody.
I'm not showing anything yet.
Okay, it says a person's this is definition 1, a person's legal condition, whether personal or proprietary, the sum total of a person's legal rights, duties, liabilities, and other legal relations, or any particular group of them separately considered. Wait a minute, does that have anything to do with citizenship? No. And it gives you an example, the status of a landowner. And then 2, a person's legal condition regarding personal rights, but excluding proprietary relations. The example, status of a father, the status of a wife. 3, a person's capacity and incapacity, as opposed to other elements of personal status. The example they give is the status of a minor. 4, a person's legal condition insofar as it is imposed by the law without the person's consent, as opposed to a condition that the person has acquired by agreement, the status of a slave. Does that say anything about citizenship? No. Are you competent or are you... Do what?
Status of a slave.
No, it's still not a citizen. You're not a slave. It has to do with, are you competent or incompetent? See, we volunteer into servitude because we prove ourselves to be incompetent.
Well, we were pretty much adopted into it, right?
No, you're not adopted into it. You're voluntarily put into it. When you were
Not
18
not
and they gave...
adopted, indoctrinated.
Indoctrinated? Is that what you said?
Yes, this is all that's we've been taught, right?
Yeah, but
Through
guess
public,
what?
through public schools.
Yes, but guess what? You were disobedient to the principle in the Bible. The Bible says what? Put your trust in no man. But what did we do? We put our trust in teachers. We put our trust in preachers. We put our trust in politicians. We put our trust in doctors. We put our trust in everyone. And then we turn around and play the victim and blame them.
Well, I mean, it's like we put our trust in God by them as well.
Now, don't get me wrong. When you were a minor before you become a man, yes, I get your point. You do not have the mental or legal capacity to contract and all that stuff. I get it. But when you turned 18 and they gave you this Social Security card and you looked at this pretty little blue piece of paper, they give you a lot of language on the card. They told you it's their property. They told us not to use for identification. They warned us. And we did the exact opposite. We thought we knew better. Remember, back in the day, it used to say, do not use for identification. And what does everybody do? Oh, well, some man in a suit asked for it. So you voluntarily gave it to him. When you had enough citizens doing that, the government said what? Okay. He said the same thing that God said to Israel. God warned Israel. Don't do that. Hey, don't do that. You're not going to like the results. What did God finally say? Okay, you're getting what you asked for. Well, the government said the same thing. They're doing the wishes of the people, but the people don't understand it. And they turn around and blame the government. As bad as the human trafficking thing is, yes, it is wrong. But it's still partially our fault because we are not able to do what we need to do because we refuse to educate our system on how the system works. We go into family court and play the part, and we let attorneys do what they do, knowing they're not there to help us. Yes, it's evil what they're doing when it comes to trafficking. But at some point, when are we the people going to say, you know what? We are just as much at fault because why? The government is nothing but a reflection of the people. I very seriously doubt that most of Congress understands the Constitution. There's a freaking video of Dianne Feinstein talking to Anton Scalia on the 14th Amendment and discrimination and the whole thing of letting trans people go in any bathroom, right? Well, he goes in and he starts explaining discrimination in the 14th Amendment, and he says something along the lines, wait a minute. private discrimination is legal. She didn't understand the difference at first. So even these politicians don't know the very document they said they swore an oath to. Why do you think the system won't never change? When they go to pass a law, what does it go to? It goes to some judiciary committee to make sure it is constitutional. That should be a big red flag that half of Congress don't understand it either. How are we going to fix this system when the majority of the government and the people have waived their rights and don't understand any of it? Look how many times we go around talking about civil rights. Wait a minute, what are civil rights? Civil rights are rights given by government. They're not unalienable rights or inalienable rights. Rights come from God. We'll follow that to its logical conclusion. If rights come from God, then are you saying those government granted civil rights, that government is now your God? The Bible says your words betray you, and they do. Our words betray us. Now, do you have to be articulate in courtroom? No. You just got to know the principles well enough to espouse them. For example, thou shalt not lie. They call that name. Do you have firsthand knowledge that's your name? If the judge pushes back and, well, I'm going to issue a warrant for his arrest. Well, Your Honor, are you trying to make me lie in open court? I use that name, but I can't say it's me. I have no firsthand knowledge. Because the only thing you can testify to is what you have knowledge of yourself. Get a marijuana charge. Do you know what marijuana is? And before someone pops off and says, oh, yes, I do, I smoke it. You don't know what marijuana is. You're not the creator of it. You're not God. You're not a plant biologist that knows all the species of the plants out there. All you can really say is, I don't know what it is. I know it's a plant that the creator made for our beneficial use, but can I say it's marijuana? No, I have no knowledge of that. Is that lying? No, it's the truth. And this is why I keep going back then to we complain what the government does when we're just as much at fault. And trust me, what I say, it upsets a lot of people. Some of the people I respect, we've butted heads. But they've slowly come around and understand where I'm coming from now. They said, okay, we can kind of see what you're getting at. Shoot, my buddy, me and JW. He says, no, the mom's the grantor. She's the one that created the name. She's the one that did it. No, she's not the grantor. She abandoned the infant. It's an infant decedent. It's a dead thing. I'm of the opinion back in the day, we used to take the placenta home, and I have a theory I haven't been able to prove. And this is why we no longer own our lands. That back in the day, when you had your home birth and the doctor come to your house, you didn't go to hospitals, that the placenta was maybe left attached for a certain length of time, or even if it was removed, it was buried on your land. And is that how you claimed your burial plot? Because you already buried part of you there. But I don't know. I've got to research the ancestry stuff and find out.
I have a question.
Do what? Hold on, Tina. Hold on, Tina. Justin, you was getting ready to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to ask, because earlier or a few days ago you went over that the hospital only records their stock, what they stock. Everything else you take home, they don't record.
Well, when you gave assignment over the infant to the hospital, they can only record that's in their possession. Right?
Yes.
That's why I've got a copy of a guy's UCC1. And what did he do with the UCC? He put the location of the debtor at the hospital. He was in the middle of a mortgage foreclosure when he did this. Don't know what happened. Don't know what got triggered. But the attorneys walked away from the foreclosure and he kept the house. And if you go to my Rumble channel and listen to that 6-hour video, he comes on there and talks about it. To this day, he still doesn't know what got triggered. And you can look his name up on the Florida State UCC filings. It's still there. And he put the address of the debtor, the all caps name, at the hospital. See, you got 3 last known addresses for the all caps name, technically. You've got the hospital, if you were born in a hospital. You got your county recorder's office, wherever you recorded the birth record in the county. And you got the state vital records. Does that kind of answer some of that?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry, man.
No, I was going to say, does that kind of answer some of that?
Yeah, because that's how I'm kind of setting up my UCC one now. And I have the hospital as one and the county clerk as the other. But then I set my P.O. box up and switch the address from Vital Statistics to the P.O. box.
Well, if you're the registered agent, if you get your stuff set up right, which I've been working on documents trying to perfect them because I'm looking at going to probate court, because honestly, there is a probate file that was created. Okay? Now, and I've got vital records admitting that. You can actually, when you get things done right, you can do address changes on all of those addresses and bring all the securities to you, the actual agent. I have no evidence of this. It's hearsay. A buddy of mine, I told her about this 3 years ago. She said she actually did know a guy, and he showed her the check. But he did an address change on the all caps name from the Department of Education to his address, and he started receiving a $10 check in the all caps name every month from the Department of Education. Don't know if it's true. It's hearsay. Makes sense. Does that mean I'm telling everybody to, oh, go out and do this process? No, I'm not. Because why? People have this bad habit. They find some freaking process that's going to magically fix all their woes, and they start inundating the system, and they don't even understand what they're filing.
Well, that's the point. You go through the process, but you have to educate yourself before you go through the process.
Bingo. Yusufel did a video on this the other week. Titled it, Before You File Anything, You Need to Understand What You're Filing.
So my question is that you were talking about, and another person in this group also talked about UCC 1. Can you go over that just a bit?
Well, UCC 1 filing is only a public notice of an interest. In other words, a debtor and a creditor. Who's the creditor? Who's the debtor? Who owes who?
Okay, so I was thinking of like UCC 1-503 and all those UCC commercial codes, right?
Oh,
so that's kind of what I was.
Yeah, well, the commercial codes, yes, read them. Because why? You don't have to cite the codes. You just got to learn the principles. I'll give you an example.
And
Good faith and fair dealing. That's a principle. Do you need the UCC to tell you it is? No. Act in good faith and fair dealings.
Right, but my point with the UCC, it gives recourse and remedy to the system, correct?
Always. Any law that is passed has to also have a remedy.
Well, the government creates a problem and also creates the problem and gives resolution to the problem that they created.
You can look at it that way. I think that's kind of simplistic because that's still putting the blame on government, that government is the one doing the wrong. No, they're creating a system that you believe it applies to you. A friend of mine, Trey, she's up in Illinois. She got a ticket one time for failure to give identification. Right? They treated her like an attorney. They wouldn't let her go up to the main window where the clerks are at to file papers. They made her go to the attorney window. But what did she argue the whole time? Where is the obligation that applies to me? They could never prove the obligation. You get a ticket for driving without a license or a license plate, registration. What is it by law? It's a contract. Can the court order you to contract with anyone? No. Why? Slavery's illegal.
But the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, gives you the right to live and be and travel in private. You can drive in commerce. You can travel in private in your own vehicle, unless you're making money in commerce, right?
Yes, and guess what? My dad does it. He has a private plate, and he's been running that way for over 6 years.
Well, this is exactly what I'm fighting. So with the court system, right? I refuse to put my plate on there. I refuse to give my license because I haven't committed a crime. The stopping officer is committing a felony when he pulls me over and puts on his lights under the
Is he?
Under the U.S. title and code, yes. He's also violating my rights under Title 18, 241, and 242, along with others.
He who
Right?
makes the claim has the burden of proof.
Well, and then that is where I made my affidavit for the claim
Yeah,
of the
you
court.
made a claim using their codes and claimed he was in the wrong. Well, guess
Correct.
what?
And
Now, but how did you prove it? He wasn't in the wrong. He didn't know who you were.
the problem is that when I was reciting U.S. codes and titles, the problem is that when I was doing that and giving standing Supreme Court rulings, the judge pretty much dismissed my affidavit, my challenge, and also told me that I needed to stop because the officer didn't know exactly what I was talking to because he only knows procedure. And that's what she stated. And it's great because I have it all on record, but I was still found not guilty against my wishes. When I requested the court.
You shouldn't complain they found you not guilty. That means it's over.
No, they fined me still.
Okay. Take a bag of rice in there. Argue the point of money. How do you want me to pay?
Right, and I get that for what you were talking about earlier. So I'll need that information to look up and research what you have here. And we'll have to talk more offline. I really like to pick your brain and discuss.
My buddy Boris, it's not a traffic ticket. It's a hospital bill. And I can't post it in the group because it's his private information. But he had it served on the hospital.
Could it be redacted for us to take a look at?
Well, maybe, but I haven't. But he put a sticky note on the bill. And he said, negotiate the remittance of payment with the issuer of the annex certificates. And he put some legal verbiage on the coupon. Made it into a pay to the order of, a money order, made no adverse claim to it, nothing. And he attached a copy of his county birth certificate and the state vital record certificate, a copy of both. Guess what happened? $7,000 hospital bill disappeared. You're the agent.
What did he say it was? An annex certificate or?
Yep. Negotiate your remittance of payments with the issuer of the annexed certificates. Annexed means attached.
Is there a template somewhere I can find of this?
No. I don't like templates. Templates get people in trouble.
Well,
but
yeah, maybe more information to get an idea on how to get educated to put something like that together, I guess basically is what I'm talking about.
It requires a lot of reading. It really does. Boris has been at it longer than I have.
Well, the problem that we face today is we face hundreds of years of deception and deceivement.
It's not deception and deceivement. It's not. Because why? They published everything. They didn't deceive you.
Right, but my point being is that we would never know unless this is brought up. Right?
Because why? You didn't go look. Do they have an obligation to tell you the law?
Nobody knows this. There's few of us in this country that know about this and that are trying to educate ourselves in this whole system that we had no idea about. Right?
Because you didn't go look.
We didn't know.
No, look. How many people that's been in the
with blinders on in the
willful,
system of deceivement,
willful
unknowingly
blinders.
The real world of what's going on, of deception and wizardry and trickery and doublespeak.
Hold on. Justin.
Yeah, go ahead.
You served in the military, right? Which branch?
Army.
Navy. Never again volunteer yourself. We took an oath, did we not? We took an oath to that Constitution, did we not?
Yes, we did.
How many people in the military actually read it and studied it?
Maybe 0.2%, maybe.
We are the ones that willfully stay ignorant because why? We are the ones not reading. Look at everyday life. We go download an app. We get a program and put it on our computer, and it says, agree to the terms of service, and we just check the box. Do you read it? And then what does everybody do? Everybody goes and complains because, oh, they're violating my First Amendment. You don't have a First Amendment right on Facebook.
It's not your property.
That's right.
These complaints are almost irrelevant because we've been in a system.
They're not irrelevant. I'm trying to get you to realize it really boils down to one thing. Us.
So us live half of our lives smoking, having fun, riding our bikes, doing things that kids do in the system that we have no idea about. In a public system, being educated on bullshit.
And guess what?
On reading material on a book of libraries.
They have a law school, a law library in every single county of this country. You've heard the judges say it. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. And everybody agrees with that statement.
Well, that statement is also in the Bible, too.
That's right.
Ignorance.
So guess what? Ignorance of the law is no excuse, and all you're doing is making excuses for your ignorance of the law by saying they deceive me. But guess what? You are never going to be able to sit in front of God and say the devil made me do it.
Well, everything that they do is done by agreement. They can never force you into a contract.
Correct.
Right. Maybe a lot of us need to get back to God and the Bible, but the problem is that we're missing chapters of the actual true Bible. No,
you're not. That's another lie put out by the establishment to keep the disinfo going. Because why? Have you researched the history of the Bible? Have you researched the over 5,000 pieces of scrolls, some of them in their entirety? No. Do you know why some books were not in the Bible? Because they can't verify the authenticity of the writers? See, the government puts out this, the system puts out this information that, oh, it's missing books, so don't go read it. So what happens? You don't go read it.
Well, another misconception is that the Smith and Muntz Act of 1948 that allowed media to use propaganda as news. And Obama signed that back in.
No, actually, he overturned it that allowed them to do it.
He
Yes.
overturned it. That's correct. Yes.
But guess what? Jesus said what? Satan is the god of this world. And it says that you're up against principalities and powers of the air. What comes over the air? Media. And what does nobody turn off? Media. They believe what's on Fox News because I'm Republican. They believe what's on CNN because I'm Democrat.
Of course, it's all a divide.
Yeah, it's all divide and conquer and keep the people on their plantations. And everybody keeps going on and on and on, blaming the system, blaming the other party, blaming everybody else but themselves.
I agree with that. I mean, who listens to media and thinks that it's actually facts without questioning it and doing research to verify what they're being told is actually true?
I actually have to say that half the right and the majority of the left.
Right? that's that's right on the nose, right? I mean, everybody watches news, and then you try to have a debate with somebody, and somebody wants to get their feelings involved and react, but not have a debate because they haven't researched or questions to actually do the due diligence to find the facts, to verify, right?
Yep.
What they're being told is bullshit. Well,
I have a question.
49 more miles.
I'm gonna have to hop off for a little bit and make a phone call, but I'll be back
Tina,
in a little bit.
go ahead. Tina, what's your
You
question?
mentioned that the mother abandoned the child in the hospital, and I heard something about that you have 7 years to claim it back, sort of, but I could not find any information. Is that true? And what can I do?
It is in the U.S. code, but that contract that was signed with the hospital for care, you got to be able to prove there's a contract. See, you gave the papers. You didn't take the papers home.
No.
And in the papers, it's a lifetime contract that can only be withdrawn in writing. But me personally, you can do that if you want. Brian Parker, he resigned as registered agent. Me, why would I resign? Because why? If my duty as the registered agent is to do blah, 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 what am I going to start doing? My duty. Then I'm no longer liable. Let them have that infant. Do you want the placenta back?
Well, it was quite several years ago, but less than 7. So there is no way to get placenta back.
Yeah, it's not. Do you want it back? I mean, that's all I'm saying. If you want to get rid of it, you can, but what's the point? They developed a system. You got to learn how to operate in it so you hold no liability.
So let me clarify that. So there is no way for me to go and claim my child, not placenta, my child.
You're seeing the placenta as the child.
Oh,
it's not the same.
It's not the same as baby, right? I mean,
correct.
My property, sort of.
Correct.
Okay, so whatever they were saying about the child, it was referring to placenta itself.
Yes, there's 3 products of conception. In every state code or a regulation, they've got it in all 50 states. Okay? There are 3 products of conception. The placenta, the umbilical cord, and the baby.
Mm.
The hospital can only record what was in their possession. What was in their possession? the
Placenta.
placenta and the umbilical cord. There was 2 birth certificates filed and a death certificate filed. Got that confirmed with D, who's in my group. Me and her talk regularly because a neonatal nurse that took over the neonatal department, when she took over as head manager, she discovered all this. She was so distraught that she told D all about it. See, people are thinking that baby is what they're doing this against me or against the, no, they're not.
Okay, I see. It's the meaning of the words. And you also mentioned hospital bills. That is my painful topic because I'm trying to figure out how to handle those bills. The first.
Paper, go into the file section and read commercial paper and payments law. If you have any monetary problems, you need to start there.
Okay. Yeah, I got that file and I read 1/3 of it. I still have way to go,
Gosh,
but I
you're
was
quick.
Oh, I'm very quick because bills piled up and I need to move faster. I can't afford. One debt is already with collection agency, and now I received another one. So that's why I was just wondering if you can give me ideas so I can focus when I read or pay attention to those things, because that's kind of huge file, and there are some cases that not directly apply to our situations, because it's not only for people but also for corporations and banks. That's why I was just wondering if you can give me some points so I can focus on those aspects when I'm reading that book.
You just answered your own question. It applies to who?
Corporations, banks.
Who are you doing business with?
Hospital, corporation. Man.
See how easy that was?
Yeah, okay. Well, I answered that part. Now I need to figure out that piece of paper that is in front of me with the coupon. How do I need to handle it? You see, sometimes I just need help.
I understand. That's why people come to me. I give them the information to read, and yes, they're going to have questions on application. I get that. I don't have a problem with that.
Which file was that, Pastor?
Do what, Jimbo?
Which file did you tell her to read?
What did I tell her to read? It's called Commercial Payments and Payments Law. It's in the file section. No, Commercial Paper and Payments Law. I get tongue-tied over those words.
So that's why I was just wondering if there is something particular that I need to look at. I realize that promissory note will not work.
If you are 1/3 through the book already, as that book is what, 380 pages?
337, if I recall correctly.
I'm gonna tell you this, and I know you say I don't have time. I get it. We all are stressed for time. Trust me, I absolutely get it. Look, I'm a truck driver. What am I doing right now? Driving. My clock is 14 hours a day. Sometimes it gets stretched to 16 hours a day. By the end of the day, I'm not trying to read nothing. But when I'm out of hours and I have to shut down, some weekends I read, some weekends I don't. But if you take that book and you read through it as quick as you are the first time, and you take notes, then you finish it and you start over. And then you go page by page and look up every single citation as you read it. And you read every court case it directs you to. You look up every code it directs you to. By the time you're done with that second pass, you are going to be an expert.
I have learned that there are codes when you pay to a court and satisfaction, and if you tender them something and they cash it, they accept it for full amount, for full claim.
It's not the point of if they cash it, as you say.
Deposit.
If they keep it.
Oh, keep it. Okay.
And don't return it to you. And you have proof that they got it. Even if, as long as you're doing it in good faith.
Yes.
Then, one, you can't be held liable. Two, if they keep it, it doesn't matter if it's not a perfectly perfected document. You made an attempt to settle the debt based on your understanding of the law, and they kept your negotiable instrument and didn't return it. They are supposed to discharge the debt.
Okay, because they have not returned any coupons that I signed, endorsed, and sent them.
That's right. They kept them, but guess what? Can you prove that they got them?
Yes, I have certified mail with signature, and they did not discharge that.
Nothing.
Oh.
That proved they received something.
Right.
Where's your evidence that the coupon was in the envelope? Oh, I put it in there. I'm saying that I put it in there. Oh, that ain't gonna fly.
Okay.
You get it notarized.
You get a notary to send it or a process server to send it. They have to sign an affidavit to what is in the envelope.
Okay, and you mentioned processor, or what's the term?
Process server. In other words, you got a court case. Who do you go to? You're going to serve the defendant. You go to your local process server. They take it and give it to the defendant and says you're being sued. Here you go. See what I'm saying?
Can the post office clerk stamp it or orthograph it or sign paper that he saw it or he put it in the envelope?
Not any knowledge I have, no. And I've done a lot of business with the post office.
Okay. Yeah, I know. I heard about a lot of tricks when courts receive documents and claim that nothing was there. So I know they might use this trick.
Because if you don't have a third party do it that can attest to the fact that, yes, this is in the envelope, you really have no evidence.
Okay. And can I find this processor anywhere else except court in order to send medical bill?
It's called a, slow down, Tina. Process server.
Oh, process server. Okay.
Yes.
And who can be a process server except for the court people for medical bill?
Look them up. You got process servers that's what they do for a business. And it's not just the court people. The court contacts these people too and says, hey, I need you to serve this on blah, blah, blah.
Okay, I just never heard about these people. That's why I asked.
Yeah, you have. You just didn't realize you had. Because you said other than the court. So you knew the court did something like that, but you didn't go look up to see if anybody else did.
Right. It's mainly terminology or having awareness. I know that there is something out there in addition to notary, but I was not aware.
You have to learn to look things up. Because if the court does it, potentially there's a way to find out, does anybody else?
Okay.
Just like your bank does notaries, right? A lot of people go to the bank. But if you take certain documents in front of the bank, they'll say, we can't notarize that. Why? They're not going to go to court. So what do? You need to get you a friendly relation to an actual notary that knows how to do this stuff, that does this out of their house or runs a business. Make friends with them. Get a contract going where you will pay them when they send you a bill when they're done mailing it out, and you pay them. Let them be your go-between. Any responses comes to this person. They let you know when they get a response back. Then you handle it.
So a notary can be a process server?
A form of it, yes. Because they're not going to go to another state if you're sending your bill 3 states away, but it's still called a notary presentment. Why? They do an affidavit of what's in the envelope and that they mailed it on such and such day by registered or certified mail. And then you compensated them for their time and their fees, their cost.
Can you also use them as a witness in court?
Only to that process. Did you mail this out? Blah, blah, blah. Was these documents in that envelope? Blah, blah, blah. That's it.
Okay.
Another quick question. I heard that each state has a minimum tender that you can tender to take care of the debt. Have you ever heard about it? Somebody mentioned that, and I searched 2 states, their codes, and I was not able to find the amount minimum that you can tender in order to satisfy the debt.
Well, your first mistake. I heard.
Yes. I'm trying to verify the information. I'm trying to verify the information.
I know you are. There is no minimum for valid or sufficient consideration. There's no minimum. There's no maximum. The government has never defined what is good and sufficient consideration. That's the reason why a peppercorn was used for a valuable consideration on a mortgage one time.
Okay, yeah,
peppercorn is a really super small thing. It was valued at 1 cent. And the court said, nope, that was valuable and sufficient consideration between the parties.
Okay, that's why I wanted to check if I missed something, because I could not find this information. I heard, that's why I went to check and search all codes to see if I can find this information. But I was
go search all codes. You're not in the other states. You can't use those codes from other states in your state.
The reason I mention other codes, because I live in Ohio, but the court ticket in Pennsylvania. That's why I was searching both Pennsylvania and Ohio to see if one of them at least would mention that.
You're not going to be able to use Ohio codes.
Yes, I know that.
Pennsylvania. The only way you can use Ohio codes in a Pennsylvania court is it is implied and understood that because you're in Ohio, you would have some understanding of the law. And you can use that argument against a judge to say, hey, I'm not from Pennsylvania. I don't know what your laws are.
Yeah, I was just searching for the information to see if I can cross-reference it. Sometimes it's just easy. If I find something in one, I know where to look in another one.
If you hear someone say something and they don't point you in the right direction or give you the code in what they are basing it on, you need to question what they're doing. See, a lot of gurus out there will say, pay me $300 for my process. I will help you discharge debt. but they typically never teach you the principles. Why? Because you keep coming back.
Yes.
I'm sitting here teaching you the principles so you can stand on your own.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you. I completely agree. That's why I started researching to find the proof of the statement of that claim. Thank you.
You're not gonna find anybody like me out there. It's like I told you in our private conversation. You offered to pay me for my time. What did I tell you? I told you no. You got enough things going on your plate. Get that took care of first. Most people will be saying, yeah, I'll take your money. You got enough things to take care of right now, don't you?
Yes, but you see, even if you pay, you don't learn the principle, and it's like you give a fish, but you don't teach me to fish.
That's right. And most people will give you the fish and never teach you to fish. I'm giving you the information and the documents so you can start fishing. And
that's what I'm doing, yes.
Catch a whale.
Yep. Thank you. I have another question if nobody has. It's about coupons. I was going through this thread and I saw a lot of discussions about these utility coupons. I do understand that they attach to the bond and all utility prepaid, but I was just wondering, how can we handle these coupons if utility companies reject them? Are we doing something wrong, or what be done?
How do you know they rejected it? You said you sent it to them. Did they send it back?
This is very interesting. They did not send it back, but they sent me the letter saying that it's not the valid form of payment and please stop it.
Then you did something wrong.
And insurance company told me they never received it, even after the fact they received it, and they don't accept it, and it's not money order. And if I don't pay them, they will terminate my car insurance. So
you still got to go. Look, you cannot prove they rejected it. They sent you a letter stating some things on paper. If they truly rejected it, they would have returned it to you.
Right, they kept it.
They kept it. Because why? They understand the monetary system. Anything of value, and under Title 18 USC 8, what is listed? A coupon?
The interest that is due to the issuer, something like that.
Under Title 18 USC 8, it lists the obligations of the United States.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Is a coupon in that list?
Yes, it is. Yes.
So that means what? Yeah.
It's obligation of the United States, and
not only that, it's something of value. So
yes.
The reason they're giving you a hard time is they know you don't know what you're doing.
So what should I do with this coupon? I have a whole collection of them of several years.
You've got the book. You ain't even finished reading the book, and you're asking me what to do.
Okay, I will be back. I will finish reading, and I will be back because I have a lot of these coupons. But should I keep sending them back to the company or not?
Once you learn how to do it right, you can. Joe, he's in my group. He sends the coupons back. He has a way of putting the proper verbiage on the coupon. His power company don't even send him a bill anymore.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I will check.
He knows, but he knows what he's doing.
Okay. I will check his. He's on Rumble, right?
Joe, you know Joe. The guy on Rumble, he's on Rumble, yes. I don't know if you know him or not.
Yeah, I saw a couple of his videos. Yeah, I will need to check again. Okay.
I've
So
actually been teaching him some things that he's missed so he gets better at what he's doing.
Yeah, we all need remedy. So, all right, I will finish reading.
But don't go into seeking remedy. And I'm not using you as an example, Tina. I'm not.
No, that's fine.
Don't take this the wrong way.
No, I'm good. Yeah.
Community, yes, times are hard. Everything's expensive, and the multitude of people out there, all they care about is getting everything for free. You've got to understand, you're not getting something for free. You are actually learning how the monetary system truly works, so you can have this symbiotic relationship. God gave us this nation, this country. We have certain duties to take care of it. We have to look at it from that standpoint, that we've been derelict in our duty. The government's trying to do the best they can when we're not doing our part. So you got to look at it from the standpoint of, I need to do my part. And then you start realizing, wait a minute, this is actually money. I'm learning how to handle my business, how to handle my affairs. And in turn, your side of the account gets settled. When I say the account, I'm talking about the trust that they own. And then what happens? Everything starts working. If we had enough people in this country doing that, you would see our country start becoming prosperous again.
That's the commercial paper laws file?
The commercial paper and payments law, yes.
Yeah, they don't teach this stuff in schools or colleges. That's why we are so financially illiterate.
Absolutely. Even, I mean, I listen to the elite on YouTube. The elite are out there on YouTube. Like Robert Kiyosaki, he's a billionaire. He teaches people about money. He teaches people about the financial system. He said that's one of the things they do not teach in school.
Right.
They do not teach the financial system in school. So guess what? You get out there not knowing how it works. And what does the rich do? They do not have a problem using debt. They use debt to generate massive amounts of wealth.
Yes,
They don't pay taxes. But you look at the articles. There was an article floating around years ago that Amazon made $1.2 billion last year and paid 0 taxes. And I read the comments under the articles every time I saw it, and I laughed. Look, the rich don't pay their fair share. They would be complaining, crying, whatever. And I always commented, I said, what I find amusing is this. Y'all won't learn the rules to the game, so y'all can do the same things they do.
Yes, I have read Robert Kiyosaki's several books. He gives a very good idea and picture of how things work, but he did not discuss this paperwork, this securities that we are doing.
Yes, he does. You just don't see it. He's not telling you the methods of payment. You're right. But he's still telling you how the financial system works.
Yes,
one of the things he has said on video is the difference between rich people and poor people is what?
Way of thinking? Paperwork, yeah. Yeah. Somebody said, do you know the difference between rich people and poor people? The difference is rich people know how to fill out the form.
They fill out the paperwork.
Yes, they know how to fill out forms, yeah.
Yeah. learning how the monetary look. Do the rich people actually go to a bank and give their social to get a loan? No. They keep their accounting, and then they come and pull their accounting report and show the cash flow, and they get a loan based on their cash flow. See, there's three types of tax reporting. Cash method. The cash method is what everybody's doing on a 1040. Okay? You've got the accrual method, and then you have a modified accrual method. The elite, the corporations are using the latter two. For example, if you go look up the definition of closed account in Black's Law Dictionary, it's not closed like you think. It's only closed to where there are no more credits and debits added. Wait a minute. Debits are added? See, there's two sides of the ledger. The one side is a liability to the bank. The other side is an asset to the bank. They add both. How much liability do they have? How much assets do they have? If their assets outweigh their liability, they're profitable. Well, guess what you never do? You never properly do your documentation showing both sides of the ledger. Now, you said you did Robert Kiyosaki's. You remember the 4 quadrants of the ledger? Liabilities, assets, and then you had 2 more? Well, guess
Cash
what?
investments.
On a closed account, the other 2 sides of the ledger come up. It remains open for what? Offset and adjustments. There's 4 sides to the bank ledger, but you're not doing proper reporting. It's just like you fill out a W-4 for employment. You get a W-2 at the end of the year. You file a 1040 and you actually sign it and commit perjury every time. Why? A W-2, all W-2s, all W-4s, all 1099s are Class 5 gift and estate taxes.
Yes.
A 1040 is not. A 1040 is a Class 2. You already commit perjury by attaching the wrong forms.
Oh, that's right. What is 1040? What class is that? You mentioned 2.
Class
What class
2.
is that?
Class 2.
And what is the class 2? Is that taxation part of?
It is taxes, yes, but I would have to go look it up.
Okay, yeah, because
Class
I don't
5s are
remember.
gift and estate. Class 5 is gift and estate. The tax return files for gift and estate is a 706 and a 709. You will never get H&R Block to fill out a 706 and 709. They will not. Don't even try. You can try. They probably won't. Because why? Their corporation won't let them. When you do a W-4 for employment, the estate side, which I think, don't quote me on this, is the 709 form. It might be the 706, but I'm thinking it's the 709. So the estate side of the trust is where you're going into this job. Okay. When you pay your bills, that's the gift side. That's your 706. So we don't even do the right paperwork. We don't do our accounting. We don't have our ledgers. When you got a mortgage and you issued a private investment security, you didn't have a ledger and your files together showing that you issued it.
That's right.
So when the debt collector comes to you and drags you into court, they bring their accounting, which is their statements. Well, the statements don't prove anything. What do you never bring to court? You never bring your accounting, your ledger. Your ledger should show how much credit they received. They don't, but you don't show that. Now, when you bring your ledger, the judge has to look at your ledger. They look at their accounting. Now you've got an adversarial position. Now the question is whose ledger is going to stand up? And that's where you need to understand the banking system.
Yeah, I agree with you. We have not been taught how to do proper accounting and how to file taxes. So everybody does W-4, maybe couple schedules, attach W-2, 1040, attach couple schedules, and then W-2 or 1099, and we owe taxes. Or maybe get something, at least something, maybe back.
Okay, so all the accountants they go to school, they're which means what? They're taught wrong at school, or they didn't learn correctly at school.
That depends.
They are not taught.
No,
there was
it depends. They are taught, but they are taught the current laws. They never go back to the foundation. What's the foundation? 1933, the Banking Relief Act. What came in 34? The Securities and Exchange Act. What came in 35? The Social Security Act. I don't remember what it is in 36, but what came in 39? In 39, you have the Trust and Indenture Act of 1939. And then in 1945, they have the amendment to the Banking Relief Act, which changed from Federal Reserve bank notes to Federal Reserve notes. See, they don't go back to the foundation. And I've asked attorneys this. I said, and this is why I say I know their job better than they know their job. I said, how can you do your job effectively if you don't know the foundations of how you got here? I had a conversation with a big time accountant up in Massachusetts, Boston. He don't do average people's accounting. He does corporate accounting. And and he sent word through somebody else that he wanted to talk to me. And when I started breaking down the monetary system with the mortgage notes and everything else, I asked him one question. I said, do the books not have to balance out every day under the generally accepted accounting principles? He said, you're absolutely right, they do. He said, but I never equated it until I heard you say it. Then he understood.
Is he now upping it to double and then paying you half?
Do what?
Gonna up his fee to these corporations to double now and then give you half of that.
Oh, it'd be nice.
Hey, Pastor, I was trying to look up in the files on the commercial paper and payments law. I couldn't find it. Is it listed under a different name?
Start typing the word commercial, but go COMMER. Type it slowly. You got to give the algorithm time to find it. And by the time you get to the R, it should pop up. Oh, darn it. It's 11 degrees.
So does it mean that at the end of the year, we need to issue the tax forms to all utility companies that we send our money to, right?
I honestly, now Joe and people asked a logical question. What I'm getting ready to tell you, no, I haven't done it. The reason why I haven't done it, it ain't tax season. Some of y'all have heard about the W-4 process, right?
Yes.
Which part?
Just the W-4 process, the whole thing with the W-4 sandwich and all that stuff.
Yes.
Well, Smoking Baby, I know him personally. And me and him have talked numerous times. He put that video out in November, that webinar that he did. He put it out in November with David Gonzalez. And let's see. What exit? 214. Okay. I'm getting close to my fuel stop. I don't want to miss it because I'm almost to 1/8 of a tank. So I watched that video. And in January of this year, I asked him a logical question. I said, Smoking Baby, I have a question. My dad has always been self-employed. My dad does installation work. At the end of the year, the box stores, Sears, Home Depot, Lowe's, what do they send him? A 1099. I said, why are we not doing 1099s? He never gave me an adequate answer. Well, it wasn't too long after that, Felicia put out a video on the W-4 process. She was totally green. And she put her phone number in the description. And what did I say? I said, Felicia, sent her a text. I said, we should talk. She didn't know me from Adam. She said she prayed about it. But she texted me a few times to see what I had to say. And I told her, I said, on your W-4 process, you're missing a few things. And she finally agreed to talk. And it was 2 a.m. And we spent the next 4 hours on the phone with me breaking down to her everything I've told y'all about the social. Okay? Then her and I did a 4-hour presentation just recently. And I did the same thing I told her about the 1099. And she actually point blank said, you know, that's actually the first thing that I've heard that makes sense. See, if it's their trust and their trust is issuing credit through the agent to the corporation, what was the intent of Congress? They needed the currency to flow, right? The currency can't flow if you don't pay your bills. So they send you a coupon. You voluntarily send them one form of payment, the coupon. Then you voluntarily send them a second form of payment. Now, the coupon, this is just hypothetical on my part, but because I don't know which way they do it, I just know which one makes sense. The coupon goes to the Treasury, and that keeps the corporation in business. Your payments, on the other hand, go to the investment trust that works on the stock market. You can go look up the SEC website and do an Edgar search on these big corporations, and you will find there's an investment trust. You find their 424B5 prospectus or B4 prospectus. Pull up the PDF, do keyword search. Beneficiary, trustees, beneficial interest, trust certificates. You just do keyword searches. And what will you find? All of these terms. The shareholders are the beneficiaries of the trust. So you send out these payments for the beneficiaries to receive dividends. It's just like the municipal bond market. They got everybody out there working these jobs, and they say, do you want a 401k? I had somebody ask me one time, well, when I was working with the last company I was with as a truck driver, do you have a 401k? I said, nope. I don't like investing in slavery. Now, why did I say that? Because every single court case they monetize it through the court registry investment system and put it into the municipal bond market. How is your 401k funded? Through the municipal bond market. So they need to give you tickets, they need to they need to make misdemeanor charges and felony charges so the courts can operate as banks and do these municipal bonds, and everybody just gladly goes and gets their 401k because it's my retirement. I'll keep investing in your slavery. See, we talk about how we don't like slavery and slavery should have been abolished and everything else, but we don't even recognize the very slavery we're volunteering into. And we do it by consent.
Because we do not know any better.
Ignorance of the law is no excuse. They will never violate your free will. They may yell at you. They may scream at you. They may even temporarily throw you in jail to try to get you to consent. But they'll never violate your free will. That's why I said earlier, you can never go to God and say the devil made me do it.
I must be retarded because I was trying to find a little search button under the files.
Okay.
Where you could type in commercial. And I'm like, oh, this is killing me.
Now, are you on a phone or are you on a computer?
Yeah, I'm on a phone.
Okay.
I can text it to you, James.
Hold on. Tap on the name. You see members, media, and files. Tap on the word files.
Okay.
See to the right, there's a search symbol.
To
the right of Bozligos Nomos chat.
Gotcha.
Now tap on that. Type in COMME. Right there you go.
The U.S. Department of Commerce.
It's the third one on the list. It's got the green and black and white background. You see the cover of
Oh, it's the Gilbert Law Summaries?
That's right.
On commercial? Perfect. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Pastor, I wanted to ask, kind of jump subjects here, which was, I'm kind of wondering. Now, when you first got started in this and then you did that bond, you created a bond in court, and then that kind of changed things for you. Now, they create the bond. Now, you're creating a bond. Can you kind of go over that, why that works?
Oh, the GSA bond? Is that what you're talking about? Well, the GSA bond is a pack of forms that you fill out. Okay. The GSA bond process is insurance for the case because under the admiralty jurisdiction system, both parties have to be bonded. Well, the DA has a bond because of the bar. Guess what you don't have?
Insurance.
So you're not bonded, which means since they're after the trust, they're putting the name of the trust down as the debtor. Well, the GSA bond process is insurance for the case, which means you are allowing them to use your credit. Because why? The states are bankrupt. They need to pay their bills. So you're allowing them to be able to create the currency to pay their bills and the stuff they do, and they will just very quietly do something funny that won't make sense to make the case go away.
I was wondering, using that idea, like, say, okay, for the, like, say, car insurance, can you create, like, some kind of bond through something like that?
Well, my buddy Wesley Keith Mullins, if you go to his website, WKMtrust.com, and he's got a bunch of documents on his website. He actually created a $5 million bond that he recorded with the court for his insurance.
What is the website, Pastor?
WKMTrust.com. Now, he did the secure party creditor process, and he knows now there are portions of it I don't agree with, but that doesn't mean I don't endorse him and don't like him. Me and him trade information. He's learned a lot with our conversations, and he sees things slightly different too.
Thank you.
You are welcome. Now, I need go-go juice. But hey,
What part
I'm
of the
also
country are you in right now?
let's see. I am in Rawlings, Wyoming. And I'm sitting here wondering, they're trying to kill me. I got 2 hours and 9 minutes left on my clock. And I'm sitting here wondering, where am I going to go? And I'm supposed to be in Alabama at 2 a.m. Monday morning. Now, today's Thursday. Okay, I got all day tomorrow, all day Saturday, all day Sunday. Okay, I'm good because I'm 3 days away. Yes, I'm good. Okay, I was looking at my miles. Okay, there we go. I feel better now. Now I need fuel.
Did you ever have that tandem live that you were talking about doing for 70? You were saying that you're going to have another gentleman come on?
No. Me and Russ, I
Russ.
invited him here. Me and Russ are supposed to get together and work on some documents, and we've tried a couple times to get together, but his schedule and my schedule have conflicted each time. Right now,
Okay.
the reason he's not on here is he made a deal with some veterans groups to teach them about consumer credit law. He volunteered his time. So that's why he's not here.
Gotcha. Are you going to be doing any classes or anything in the future?
That right now is the one I'm waiting to get lined up.
Okay.
Yeah, we're trying to get things together. Going to do the classes totally different than the way I did them before, because I really wasn't happy with them, even though people liked them. Me and Russ is going to do a class where it's just me and him, and we're going to go in detail through everything, get the video rendered, put it in the folder with some documents, and then announce the class and do another video where we give a presentation and answer questions. So that way you'll have a better quality video in greater detail to watch at your leisure. And that way I feel like it's going to be better that way. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, y'all, it is 8 o'clock here. It is 10 o'clock at the house. I'm going to have to call it a night so I can call my wife before she goes to bed without me and mad at me.
All right, man. Thank you for sharing.
You are welcome. And I will see y'all probably tomorrow.
Okay. Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Thanks, Pastor.
You're welcome.